Hello, fertile soul. How are you today? How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome to Omolayo. Welcome back to Omolayo if you've been following for a little while. Omolayo means joyous child, and this is a channel dedicated to unlocking the secrets of the preconception period, preconception, before conception, so that couples like you can get and stay pregnant and grow the family of your dreams. My name is Dr. Abigail. I am a naturopathic doctor and a midwife, a natural midwife, natural birth midwife by trade. And today I am your host and fertility coach, your spiritual fertility coach, given the topic that we are going to be discussing today. Now, before we get into the topic, I want to explain a few things. First, this is the third video in the first series on this channel. And this series, I introduced it in the second video on the channel called Foundational Fertility Factors That Your Doctor Is Not Discussing with You. And this series really sets the foundation of what we're doing on this channel. There's a lot of different things. I'll talk about the second caveat in a moment. I would be pointing to tell you to click here and there. I am new to social media. I will learn all of those things, but I'm not letting the learning of those things get in the way of the message that needs to be done. So in this foundational series, we're setting the foundation of the things that are impacting your fertility that people don't really talk about. I believe we know these things on some level, but we don't really talk about it. Our doctors don't talk about it with us. We don't think about it or bring those things into action. And in that video, the video titled Foundational Fertility Factors That Your Doctor Is Not Talking to You About, I discuss 5 factors that impact your fertility. One we're pretty familiar with is the physical, right? The second, which was the last video, is the emotional factors that impact your fertility. This video is about the spiritual factors that impact your fertility. The next one will be about the ancestral factors that impact your fertility. And the final one will bring all of it into culminate all of them, and it will discuss the transformational factors that you can do, the transformational actions, I should say, that you can do to impact your fertility in the positive. Okay, so that's just the foundation and what we're doing. Please go into the history or into the videos, whatever it is that you do on YouTube, to find all of the past videos and catch up on it and revisit them, share them with people, really digest it, post some comments. Let's really get into it. Now, I do have 2 caveats before we get into the content of today's video. And let me start with the first one, which I don't think I've ever mentioned online yet. And you're starting to see it because I don't know where to tell you to point. I'm not getting into the mix of it. I'm just going live so that you can hear what needs to talk about. But over time, you'll see and you'll grow with me by God's grace, and you'll see the progress and the progression of this channel as we do more production level things. Right now, we're just going to focus on the meat of the content, okay? So the first caveat is that I'm new to social media, okay? So just bear with me, laugh with me. I know you're gonna laugh at me, but I'm laughing too. So you're really laughing with me. And as I said, grow with me, grow with me. I shared in the intro that the introductory video to this channel, that I have a God-given mission to help usher, to help coach, to help midwife, if you will, people, couples like you through this transition period into parenthood, from maiden to mother, from bachelor to father. And it is time for me to put myself and my voice out there for people to see and hear. And I refuse to let that perfectionism get in the way of the mission, right? So that's caveat number 1. Bear with me as I get familiar with all of the buttons and things. You'll see me on all of the other platforms in due time. I'll be announcing different programs and things, but right now I just want to set the foundation and invite you to join me in conversation. Bring your questions, bring your stories, bring your testimonies, and listen and hear and see how these things can impact and influence your fertility. So right now I'm doing these no-cut lives just to keep it simple, because I believe the value is in the content, okay? Caveat number 2. I'm not a prophet, I'm not a priest, I'm not a pastor. We're going to be here talking about spiritual principles that impact your fertility, and I'm going to discuss them as God gives them to me, as God has given it to me, as God has shown it to me, okay? Now, and as I've studied people who follow these universal spiritual principles. Okay, so those are my disclaimers. I'm not getting into dogma, we're not getting into doctrine. I will share my beliefs and I will be unapologetic about those things. But when we're talking about spirituality here, these are universal principles, okay? Universal principles. So don't get caught up in it, in the details, but definitely search your heart, put your skepticism aside, because we're going to get into some stuff here. Okay, so those are my two caveats. Now let's go ahead and get into the content. As I said, this is the third video in this series that's discussing those 5 factors that I mentioned. You can click on the video that talks about the foundational factors that your doctor is not discussing with you, and get a summary. I give a high-level summary of all 5 in that video. And then I'm digging deeper into each one of them. We'll bring the physical, that physical and medical thing. That's the one that everyone really wants to talk about. Hey, what's going on with my menstrual cycle? What's going on with my sperm count? What's going on with this diagnosis, and what medication and what herbs and what things should I do? All of that is important. But there are also some very deep underlying things that also impact what's going on in the physical, in our physical bodies, in the physical realm, that it would behoove us to pay attention to, right, beforehand. Okay, so as I've mentioned, physical, emotional, spiritual, ancestral, and those transformative actions. Each video gets deeper into the topic, so go back and watch them, go forward and watch them again, and understand that even though I'm separating and teasing out these different factors individually, they're all very much intertwined, okay? They bleed into each other, they impact each other in different ways. So we're talking about them individually, but understand all of them come together. And some people have more work to do in one realm over another. So know which one is for you. There are people that can help you. I am at service to help you. Ask your questions, do your prayers, do the work, listen to your intuition, because your intuition is also telling you, is speaking to you, and you'll know which ones, oh wow, she's talking about me. Okay, what's going on, right? So I'm setting the time to set up that solid foundation about what we're going to be doing here, so that as we move forward and as we discuss nutrition, as we discuss sleep, and as we discuss hormones, and as we discuss anatomy, and all of these other things that you probably have heard about as you're trying and preparing for your baby, I want you to also know that there are underlying things that impact all of that, right? All right. So let's get into the spirituality of fertility. I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm very excited. Actually, another thing I want to share with you all, I mentioned in my introductory video, not the first video of this series, but my intro to Omolayo video. I mentioned there, again, the God-given mission that I've been given, but also in there that I am speaking to myself. I am you. I'm speaking to myself as I'm talking to you. A lot of these things are, when you're given a mission, oftentimes the mission that we're given to do is based on personal things that we're going through. And so as I go through these things, I want you to understand it's been a couple of weeks, maybe 3, since I did my last recording. And it's not a coincidence. We're talking about, I'm here, I'm going to get on the internet, the World Wide Web, where I don't play. All of the social media came up in my generation, and I never participated. Never been on Facebook, never been on TikTok, never been on Instagram. And I remember when Black Planet started. For those of you who remember Black Planet, I just wasn't interested. And I knew back then that I have a mission that's going to be on a global platform, but at the same time, I wasn't participating in that platform to share my opinions, to share my revelations and my visions and things like that. And I know that there is a reason for that. And the reason is showing up in the divine timing of all of this coming up now. You'll get to understand a lot more of what I just said, because I know I said a lot without saying a lot, as you follow in and tune in. I'll be sharing, some personal things without getting too deep into it. I did say in that introductory video that I would be inviting my mother onto the channel to unpack that ancestral thing. And yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. We've had in conversations. She knows what's up, and I will be sharing the essence, the core, the nuggets that are going to be helpful, for those who are listening, for you who's listening. But a lot of that is so deep and so personal, and I'm still unpacking it. So the time for that live interview, for the time for the full testimony is coming. It will come. So stand by for that. But I want to make sure that I address something that I said I would do. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing that. She knows we're not doing that. We've discussed it. The pieces that are relevant for you all to hear, I will share. And it's deep. But no, it's not going to be a live interview where I just pour it all out. It needs to be processed. It needs to be refined. And then the pieces that are helpful, that will be helpful to you, is what I will be sharing. Okay. So as we talk about the spirituality of fertility, the first main point that I want to share, and I'll keep saying it in this video and on this channel, everything is spiritual. If there's nothing else that you take away from this video, this session, this whatever you call it, it's that everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Okay. Many people who are preparing for conception, as well as people who are helping you to conceive, are going to focus on the physical and those medical factors that impact your fertility and your conception, right? Some of the more progressive individuals are even delve deeper into the psychological factors, the social factors, the cultural factors that impact fertility and conception. In this video, we're going to dig into the spiritual factors, okay? The spiritual factors that you want to consider that are impacting your fertility. And in our next conversation, we're going to deal with that familial, the ancestral lineage, the things that are on your bloodline, the things that are in your genetics, the things that are in your DNA, and those factors, the things that you didn't do, that are directly impacting your fertility and your conception. So, what do I mean by spirituality? What do we mean when we say spirituality? Again, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about spells. I'm not talking about doctrine. I'm not talking about dogma here. Leave that to the side. I'm not getting into arguments with y'all about that. Okay. I know what mine is. If you feel the spirit through me, you'll know what it is too, right? But what it is, spirituality by definition refers to something that isn't physical in nature. Okay. It is the unseen realm. It's beyond dogma and doctrine. Spirituality is your relationship with your own life force, the energy and the spirit that gives you life and also connects you to that higher source and power. I call him God. In fact, more and more, we are more spirit than we are physical. Everything physical actually starts in the spirit realm. Okay. The spirit realm is what controls the natural realm. Okay. So let me break that down a little bit. We are tripartite beings. We have a spirit. Again, that's the unseen realm, that's beyond dogma and doctrine. We have a soul. That the soul is our mind, our will, and we have free will, and our emotions, right? And then we have a body. We know what the body is. It's our physical, it's our flesh, okay? Our organs. But there's a thin veil, like I said, even though I'm teasing it apart, there's a thin veil between all of them, a passageway, even if you will. And it behooves us, like I said, to pay attention to the spirit side of things because everything is spiritual. What did I say? Everything is spiritual. Okay, so again, we are tripartite beings. We have spirit, soul, and body in us, and they work together. We pay attention to the body, but things in the spirit impact the body. Things in our soul, again, our mind, our will, our emotions impact the physical. Okay, so when you're seeing things in the body, when you're seeing your irregular period or pain with your menstruation, or miscarriages, especially if it's recurring miscarriages, that's something that's happening in the body. And oftentimes we'll go to our doctors, we'll try to dig in and do all of the tests, all of the imaging, all of the blood work, all of the conversations, spend all your money, and you're not dealing with what's actually causing that spiritual thing, that physical thing. And it might be spiritual. Oftentimes it is. It might be emotional. Oftentimes it is. But all we're paying attention to is that physical thing. The physical is just a manifestation of what's going on spiritually and emotionally, mentally, right? Think about that and let that sit with you. Okay. So the spirituality of fertility it's a number of things. It's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage, and by that I mean a rite of passage is usually something in a cultural setting, maybe um, it's a testing. It's a testing. It's a proving. It takes you through a dark place, and it's important not to get stuck in the dark place and in the testing that's happening, but to understand the reason for it. There's a reason. It's like going through a dark, the what do they call it? The dark storm of the night or something like that. But at the end, you come out stronger. You come out more fulfilled if you pass the test, right? The spirituality of fertility is also a deeper development of you by way of that testing. That testing develops you. It moves you from mother or father, it moves you, sorry, from maiden into motherhood. So you by yourself before, you were just doing what you need to do. Now you're trying to be a mother. It's certain things that have to happen when you move from one phase to the next phase, from one level to the next level. There's certain things that need to be developed in you so that you can have the capacity to be and be successful in that new realm that you're moving into, right? From bachelor to father, you were a single man, you were doing your own thing. It doesn't really matter. Even if you're married, you're not caring. You're not nurturing for another being that came from you. Okay. So it's a development of you into a mother, into a father, into a creator, into a nurturer. The spirituality of fertility is also a sacred contract. It is a contract, it's a covenant, it's an agreement. It's an agreement with you and your spirit baby. Okay. Your babies are already the soul of the baby, the spirit of the baby already exists. And then there's an agreement that's saying, okay, I choose you. Okay, I choose you. We choose each other, egg and sperm, and we're successful. And now that egg and sperm creates a life and is choosing the womb that it wants to come into. And there are things that can get in the way of that. And we want to be able to be mindful of it. It's an invitation. And in this contract, in this agreement, in this invitation, there's growth that needs to happen. There are lessons that need to happen that we need to receive and know about. There's healing that needs to happen in preparation for those things, okay? And during the time. But it's better to be prepared than to be going through it while you're growing your baby, while you're preparing all of your house and your home for everything that's going to happen after baby arrives, right? The spirituality of fertility also speaks to this time, this sacred time of consecration. And to the consecration, to be consecrated means to set yourself apart, to put to set something apart, to set yourself apart, to be in a period of grace and cleansing ourselves, eliminating things that might harmfully impact you. It is setting aside time to really, really work on what needs to be done in preparation for the next level for yourself. The spirituality of fertility is filled with symbolism, signs, synchronicities, coincidences. I don't believe anything is ever a coincidence. That's why I say synchronicities. And some of these signs, some of these symbols can come up in different ways. It can be a prophecy. It can come up in a dream. It can be your intuition speaking to you and letting you know that something is real and true, right? So the earlier you can introduce yourself and introduce the awareness of spirituality into your fertility process, the sooner you can do that, the more helpful it will be in the success of your fertility journey, of the process that you're going to. Again, if you remember, what did I say? Everything is spiritual. When you remember that and hold on to it, you are more equipped to understand and discern what's going on in the physical that's impacting your in the emotional realm that's impacting your fertility, in the spiritual realm that's impacting your fertility. Okay. And I want to make clear, so spirituality, everything is spiritual, and spirituality is actually simple. It's really simple. When you think about a lot of people want to complicate spirituality. We want to complicate it and say you got to do all of these things, you got to wear certain clothes, you got to do things all the time. And on some level, there are things that you must do and things you must follow to get the breakthrough that you're looking for, to achieve the thing that you are looking to achieve. In this case, we're talking about conceiving, conception, right? But spiritual principles are universal. It applies in every area of your life, okay? So this information that we're getting into here actually applies and can be applied to anything that you're doing. When you understand that everything is spiritual, if something you see something in the physical and it's not going right, you can ask, where did it come from? What happened in the spirit realm that's manifesting in this physical way, right? That said, in the simplicity of spirituality, think about it as you've got two. There's a dark side to spirituality too. I'm going to really focus on the light, but I don't want you to make no mistake that there is a dark side to spirituality as well, right? So in the simplicity of spirituality, think about it as light and dark, black and white. It's very simple. Okay. Now, just because something, I do believe in simplicity. I believe in the KISS factor. Keep it simple, sweetie. And with fertility, it's really important to keep things simple because the endocrine system, all of the hormones, all of the testing, especially with the female reproductive system, it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole and get lost in the sauce. So easy. Okay. But when you really bring yourself back and bring it to the simple facts, to the simple foundations you're going to be learning here and that you already know on some level, you'll realize that the work that you need to do is in this other thing. Now, just because something is simple does not mean that it's easy. Sometimes it is easier to just pay some money and dig and poke and prod and do all of those other things. But the simple things that you work on are actually more profound. Simplicity is profound, doesn't mean that it's easy. Okay. So as we talk about these things, I don't want you to think that it is lost on me that it takes work to do some of these things, to remember these things, to not get caught up in what seems to be more, which is the flesh, the pain, the hurt, the grief, the mindset that we have. It might seem like that is bigger. We are more physical than we are spirit, but I'm telling you, we are more spiritual. This universe operates much more in spirit than it does in the physical. Okay? You can go and do your research, go and test the things that I'm saying. You don't have to believe me, but understand this is the foundation of everything we're going to be talking about on this channel. Okay. So if you tell me you have a pain, or if you're, so I might ask you, when did that start? What happened when you were born? What was the last dream you had? Where did you meet that person? What was going on when you met that person? You might say, what does that have to do with what I'm asking you about, Dr. Abigail? And I'll break it down for you. Okay. But for now, let's stick to the spirituality of fertility. Let's stick to the lessons and the core pieces that I want to make sure that you understand here. Okay. So I was talking about a light and a dark. It's simple, but I also don't want to ignore the dark side because that's oftentimes what we need to deal with. You got to understand where the darkness is so that you can bring the light to that dark area and address it. Okay. Cast it out, bind it, do what you need to do with light, but you need to know where to shed the light. You need to know that there's a darkness in you. So, and I talked about light and dark. We can even talk about angels and demons. We have angels around us that help and protect us and bring us into the things and the realms that we want to do. But there are also demons who are trying to stop us and stop things and distract us from the blessings and the glory and the the manifestation of things that we are meant to bring. We all have a mission. As I said, as I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. And there were many things that were trying to stop me from doing this at this time in this way. But by the grace of God, right? We can also think about it as good and bad, dark and light. When you understand spiritual laws, you will understand, you will see that darkness always comes into the submission of light. Always. Think about it. If you have a candle, if you have a dark room, and you have a candle, a lantern, a match, any kind of light source, a flashlight, and you bring it into that dark room, the darkness goes away. At least wherever you shine that light, light and dark cannot coexist. They both are around us, but when you bring light into dark, it it overcomes the dark thing. I'm laying a foundation here and we're going somewhere. Okay. So I want you to understand the simplicity of spirituality. And it is very simple, but you have to understand spiritual principles to be able to use it to your advantage. Okay. That said, the darkness can still have an effect on us if we don't address it directly with that light. Just because you're aware of it doesn't mean that you're dealing with it. Okay? What do I mean tangibly? There are ways that, so the dark side of the spiritual realm can manifest as a blockage, as unawareness, as amnesia. You're not aware of what's going on. You forgot. You're not paying attention to it. A stagnation, a spiritual constipation, if you will. Did you actually address the thing? Or is it hanging out there somewhere in the background somewhere? What do you have to do to ensure that it goes away, that it is shattered, never to impact you again? There are things that you can do, but it starts with your awareness. So move out of the state of amnesia and remember, bring things into remembrance. Make prayers and intercession to remember certain things, to be aware of spiritual principles, to be aware of to be aware of where the blockages in you reside and to know how to address it. You have to know what it is, where it is, and then how to address the thing. And there are ways to do this. There are absolutely ways that you can remember things that were lost, things that you didn't even do. Bring it into your awareness. That's discernment, right? And then know where it's affecting you. Is it in my relationships? Is it in my finances? Is it in the emotionality that I have? Is there something that's actually causing that blockage? Then you go and deal with that rather than just the blockage. It's like that saying, um, if the faucet is running and water is spilling over from the sink, how much sense does it make to mop up all of the water on the floor versus turning off the faucet, the leaky faucet, fixing it at the root? We're talking about root cause of things here. Okay. So I'm going to look at my notes here to talk about a few more things, because I want to get into the things that you can do as we're talking about this, the spirituality of fertility. So one of the things to also remember or to know is that stress. We talked about stress and negative stress in the previous video, and that one is the emotions that are impacting, how emotions impact your fertility. That really breaks down a lot of different things. And I think that you will understand a lot of those things, the emotions that we have. So, for instance, I talked about spiritual stagnation, a spiritual constipation. Are you with someone? Let me use the case of someone who is in a relationship and they're trying so much to conceive, but there's some angst, there's some unresolved issues, there's some anger underneath the surface, either from husband to wife, from wife to husband, and it hasn't been addressed. Okay, I talked about fertility and conception being a contract. Well, imagine your baby waiting, because everybody has the gift of reproduction. We are all able to reproduce. No matter what your doctor said, there are ways that you can replenish and resurrect your fertility. If it's your sperm, your penis, your whatever the case it is, if it's your egg, your ovaries itself, your womb, something going on with your hormones, there are ways to fix that. But what's going on behind that that might be causing it? What emotions are behind the scenes? It's what spiritual contact? Maybe you're with the wrong person. Maybe that argument that was never addressed, those emotions and feelings that you have, it's in you. It's in you. Our emotions are in our body. Remember, it's a thin veil between this our tripartite cells. What's happening in the emotions and our psychological space impacts our body. If you were molested as a child and never dealt with it, there's a stagnation, there's a grief, there's a blockage there that could have an impact on when it's time for you to come. Maybe you're afraid that something would happen to your child. If something happened from your parents that you aren't aware of, you don't have to be aware of it, but you need to be aware that that is a possibility, and cast it out from within you, right? What's another way that I can break this down? If I'm going to leave it there. Stress is an example of that. Stress on the physical level is a misfiring between the left and the right brain. And that causes an impasse. If you're trying to do this, but then this is going that way, well, now you're stagnant. You can't move. You're praying for a child, but there's this other thing that you haven't dealt with, and it's holding you back from achieving that thing. How do you know what those things are, and what do you do to address it? It's really important. This is really important stuff that we're talking about here. Okay. The mind is another factor. It's also talked about this in the last video. Your thoughts, your emotions, what you're thinking about and envisioning. Sometimes we get in our own way because out of our mouth we're saying one thing. Oh yeah, I believe in this. I believe in God. I know I'm good. I'm blessed and highly favored. But inside of your heart, in your mind, oh man, it's never gonna work out for me. Man, when is it gonna come? Oh gosh, look what happened. Look at my blood work. Oh, I only have they only retrieved whatever. I don't have my antral follicle count is this. You just blocked what you just said. And now you're at an impasse. So to equip yourself with it, there are ways that we stay in the light. And we'll get to the actions because I really want to focus on those things, but I want to break down a few things beforehand. They say, as a man thinketh, so is it. They say, fruit, show me your life and I'll tell you what your thoughts are. It ain't what you say, it's what you're thinking. Okay. It's not even what you're thinking, it's what's happening in the spirit realm. Everything is spiritual. The internal mentality expresses itself externally. So, what's going on internally, not just what you're saying, but what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're visioning in your mind, those fears, those worries, they become physical and they settle, they deposit in us. And we're trying to have a baby, it deposits in your womb. It causes a low grade inflammation. And it's not necessarily from the food or any medical condition, it's from your spirit, it's from your emotions. And now your body is rejecting the thing that you're praying for, that you want so badly. So oftentimes it's helpful to pull it back, rein in it a little bit, and go back and see, where am I doing this that is impacting my fertility? Where am I doing that that's impacting my fertility? It's really important to understand your spiritual capacity and to increase your spiritual capacity. And understand what's restricting you, understanding in what ways we might be sabotaging ourselves from receiving the very thing that we want. Spiritual stagnation is a thing. You need to be aware of it and identify it in your life and do what needs to be done to eliminate it from your life. Another thing, so let's bring it back to the demons angel thing. Sometimes we have done nothing really on our own, but things have been done to us. There are witches, there are warlocks, there are demons, there are demonic energies that see the good in you, that see the light in you, that see where you're going and want to stop it. Right. And so as you're elevating, maybe you're achieving a lot of things in life, but then this is not happening. There might be envious people, envious spirits that are doing things to block that. You didn't do it, but it's being done to you and it's impacting you. Well, you have the power to undo that, but you got to do it. Otherwise, they're being successful in what's happening, and we can't have that. So you got to know, even if you don't know exactly what it is detail wise, you got to know how to identify. Oh, this I didn't do this. What's going on? Okay, let me do what needs to be done to come against it. For me, that's prayer. That's fasting. And that's what I would recommend for you. You fast and you pray specifically about certain things, and you undo those things. You break those chains. You unleash and shatter those covenants, those evil covenants. I talked about covenants in the form of conception. That is a covenant and a contract that you make intentionally, and it's for your good. There are covenants and contracts that we ourselves might have made that have impacted our lives. We want to come against that. We want to break that. We want to undo that. We want to repent from those things, right? I also want to make the point about, I like how they say, I heard from a pastor, or I don't know where he got it from. I heard somewhere. One, it's important to know that the more you elevate, the harder they will come, right? You know, but the people don't fight. How did he say it? Nobody fights nobodies. No, ain't nobody hating on a nobody. When someone is hating on you, when someone is attacking you, it's because you are somebody. It's because you have something. Envy comes when envy goes up. People are envious and jealous looking up. They're lower than you and you're higher, and they're trying to do something. And that envy, that jealousy, the spirit, and that spirit can be projected. You got to come against that, right? People don't get envious or jealous of someone who's doing worse than them, right? So, new levels, new devils is what I heard. New levels, new devils, new heights, new fights, new seasons, new demons. Understand sometimes the attacks that you're feeling, the that you're experiencing, the things that's stopping you from achieving what you know is yours. This baby, you know this baby is yours. You know that your pregnancy, your conception should be easy. Your pregnancy should be easy. Your baby is going to be your birth and delivery and birth is going to be easy, should be easy for you. But now you're dealing with affliction and things, right? Uh-uh. You got to understand that's coming from different places. That's coming from a place, and you have to do things to come up against it. Okay. And you have the ability to do these things in your own power. Okay. You don't have to, you have the ability in your own power to undo these things. Okay. We have power over devils, all devils. Illumination can overcome the darkness. Light overcomes dark. We have seasons of attack can be a testing, but it's limited. So long as you pass the test and can come through and maintain your mind, maintain your spirituality and the spiritual awareness, you can get through it and come out stronger and be able to help other people to get through it. Okay. So let me go ahead and get into some of the strategies. I want to just jump into that. Okay. First is to identify the things that are limiting you in your life, that are limiting you in your work. Identify those things and know how to just identify it. Once you identify it, that's step one. Awareness is step one. After you identify it, well, that's just one thing. Identify the things that are limiting you. You also want to write down your vision. Write down what you see, the good things that you want. Write it down. Write down your visions. Write down your desires. There's something powerful when we put pen to paper, when we write down what it is that we want. Vision vision boards are like usually visual pictures and images, but when you write into a vision book, make a vision list, okay? Write it down and make it plain. Revisit it. So after you write it, revisit it, read it again, read it, remind yourself of what you want, remind yourself of what you know, okay? Also, it's really powerful to read aloud, because when we write and when we read, we're activating the sense of sight. But when we read it aloud, you're also activating the sound, the sense of hearing. And now you have a multi-sensory thing that you're doing in the spirit realm. By writing it down, you're making it real. Because when you write, you got to think about it first. Then you got to take that thing and you distill it down into pen and paper. And it tells you and it tells spirit that what I have written down here is a thought that I really care about, because you took the time to write it down. And then when you speak it aloud, you're now activating the wavelength. You're activating the forces, the spiritual forces and power to manifest it. You're prophesying when you read it out loud. Okay, so you want to identify the things that are limiting you in any area of your life, not just in your fertility. Okay, you want to write down your visions, you want to write down your desires, you want to read it aloud because it's powerful to do so. You want to revisit it, remind yourself of what you've written down, remind yourself of what you want, and read it aloud to yourself. And then you also want to take actionable steps to run after it. You want to move towards it. It doesn't do enough, it's not enough to know what you want, to desire it so much, to write it down, to read it. If you ain't gonna do nothing about it, what are you gonna do? It's your life. You got to take action steps. And that's why I'm taking time to spend a video to talk directly about that. I give that actionable steps at the end of every video that I'm talking about. But I want to focus on the transformative actions that you can take all in one video. Transformative actions in every realm that I'm talking about in this fertility foundations video series that I'm doing here. So, what are the actionable steps that you can take in any area to run after, to move towards that thing that you know is your vision, that you know is your divine right? You also want to make sure you are not living. I don't like talking about actions in the negative, but it is important that I say that you don't live in conflict or confusion with your vision. I spoke about that a little bit with your vision is here, but there's something internal that's conflicting with that. That's a big no-no. It puts you at an impasse. It causes stagnation. You're moving this way, your thoughts are moving you that way. It's like tug of war. And if you've got this tug of war, you're not really moving. You want to move in a particular direction, but you got this other thing pulling you back. Oh, what if? Oh, can I? Doubt, it pulls you back. It leads to stagnation. Fear, it pulls you back. It leads to stagnation, spiritual stagnation. All of those things that I mentioned in the emotions that impact your fertility. Go back and visit that, because I don't want to take too much time on this video. You also want to create space in your life for your baby. And what do I mean by that? I talked about going from maiden to mother, from bachelor to father. If you live in life as a single parent, as a single person, um, even if you're married, you're living your life as non-parents. How do you create space for being a parent, for nurturing this child? I was starting to say earlier that it's like your spirit baby in the realm, because they're already there. They're waiting. There's a contract. There's an agreement that you and your children have already made. You and your partner have already made. Once you fulfill that contract, in order to fulfill that contract, you've got to create space. That baby has to agree to it. Well, if you don't make time, you're always working, you're always out in the streets, you're always doing for other people, you haven't even carved out the time. You have to prepare for your baby. You have to move as though it were already here. How do you write down what colors and what the room for your baby is going to look like, how beautiful you're going to feel and look when you're pregnant? How do you envision those things? Spend time in vision and in the spirit, because that's what you're doing when you're visioning. You're creating, you're manifesting in the spirit realm, and it's just a short period of time before it becomes real in the physical realm. Now remember, that spiritual realm also includes those dark thoughts and those dark things, those worries and those fears too. So you have to bring that down and bring the light, the positive thoughts that you're having. And when you create it and you make space for that, clean out a room, start buying your baby clothes and shoes, get a baby bottle. What is it that will remind you always? Writing it down, putting it where you can see it, creating different things in your actual space that will remind you. I'm a mother. I am soon to be a mother right now. I am soon to be a father. My children are coming. I see it already. Let me prepare. When you have guests come into your house, if you're hosting someone, let's say we are coming up against Thanksgiving, not my thing, but I know what it is. Oh, yeah, let's say it's a dinner party. You're hosting an event at your house. Do you start cleaning up your house after the guests arrive? Absolutely not. You clean up your house and you prepare for your guests before they come, don't you? Right? You do all of these things. Okay, let me make sure they got a towel. Let me make sure they have a toothbrush. They have soap. They have a nice little, the bed is laid. The sheets are clean. They have fluffy pillows. You make sure you think about the itinerary. Where am I going to take my guests? What am I going to feed my guests? You're doing all of these things before they arrive. It's the same way. There's no difference when you are in the space of preconception. And that's what the preconception period is. You don't wait until you're pregnant. You shouldn't wait until you're already pregnant to start doing all of those things. Preconception, this period, preconception, the period before you conceive, is such a powerful time. It is such a powerful time to put these things in motion, to actually create it in the spirit realm so that it can become manifest quicker in the physical realm, right? So create space in your life, whatever that is for you, okay? Create space in your life for the manifestation of what it is. Develop that mindset, that motherhood, fatherhood mindset. Again, if you have a little baby at home, are you going to be spending all your time in your computer doing work? You're going to spend time feeding that baby. You're going to be tired from the baby waking up all the time. You're going to carve out time for that thing. So start carving out time for it now. Your baby is waiting. I will never forget a particular client of mine, and I knew it. She was trying so hard to get pregnant. She was married. The husband was busy and working, but she was the type A personality, everything. I mean, she was a track runner. Everything was scheduled to a T. Like, don't mess up. She knew, she was like, my baby's gonna be born on this day. She planned a cesarean, right? She was actually already pregnant. This was before she got pregnant, but she had to loosen those things before she still had her type A personality after she got pregnant. That's why I'm mixing up the story here. But before she conceived, we had to work on softening that. You can't. I don't have any children myself, but I've been around a lot of them. And there's a lot that you cannot control when it comes to a child. I remember even my nephew, we traveled, I traveled from Seattle to DC or something with him, on a flight. And I get to the airport 30 minutes before boarding. I got TSA pre-check. I already know what it is. My bags are packed. I know how to get through security real quick. I know where my gate is. I have everything. I'm good. With him, I knew better than that. I walk fast. I have longer legs. He was 3 at the time, 4 maybe. I had to plan 4 hours. Oh, auntie, can we have this milk? Okay, let me get stopping at all the places, taking time because I'm not going to just rush him and pull him through the airport. He has a different perspective. I had to put myself in auntie mode, in nurturer mode. And his parents, neither his mother or his father, it was just me and him. Okay, so I had to put myself, I'm the guardian here. I'm the caregiver. I have to put myself in nurturing motherhood mode to do all the things that I needed to do for my nephew to make sure that he had the thing. I didn't even know the airport has some of these things. There's a little sensory room, little playpens, of course, all the little the food things. My point here is that you have put yourself in that fatherhood mindset and start bringing those things into your life right now. Slow down. Slow down. Now let me go back to the story of that woman. Everything was fast paced. She was type A, meetings after meetings, and yet she was trying to get pregnant. Sis, I'm gonna need you to slow down just a little bit. Because how are you going to maintain all of this when you get pregnant? Your baby is looking down like, yeah, I want to come, but you ain't got no time for me. You ain't got room for me. Why would I want to come there and just be left alone? That's think of it that way. So create space. Let your baby know, okay, I'm making space for you. I'm ready for you, baby. Look, I got your room ready right now. Come on in. Look at how I'm eating and preparing my body. Look at how I'm consecrating my time and my space. Come on, baby. I'm ready for you. You're not just saying it, you're showing it, you're doing it, right? Manage your mind and your thoughts. Mindset, I said earlier, as a man, as a woman, as a person thinketh, so is he. What you think is so powerful. It's so powerful. And a lot of what we're thinking, yes, it's emotional, but it comes from different spiritual things. There are attacks on our mind. The spirit of depression is a spirit, it's a demon, and it has a root. That root comes from rejection. It's actually just, oh, how did she say it? Tasha Cobbs, was it? That it was a testimony that she gave that depression is just a branch off of the tree that is rejection. So, what are those things that are happening in the spirit realm that make us feel like, maybe not? No, you have to be bold. You have to be powerful. You have to be claim certain things and know that it's yours. Boldly say, I've got this. I'm going to do all that I can and do those things, especially in the spirit realm. Work on your mind, work on your emotions, work on the mentality that you have. Because what we have internally, the mentality that we have internally expresses itself externally. It shows up in our world. It shows up in your life is a fruit. The fruit, your life bears fruit, and people can look at the fruit of your life and see, okay, right? You want to minimize stress. I already talked about that. You also want to surround yourself with people who love you and stand for what you stand for. Okay, so here you are visioning and knowing that this baby is coming. Don't surround yourself with naysayers, haters. Why are you hanging out with them? That's just like the tension between the left and the right brain, except in the spirit, in the physical. You're doing all of this in private and all, but you're hanging around with people who nothing but negativity. Not their words are negative. Everything is, yeah, well, how you gonna do that? Well, don't you know how old you are? Oh, really? Not yet. What's going? Protect your ears. Protect your energy. That's part of that consecration. Be only around people. Infuse your mind with the things that are going to keep you in alignment with that thing that you know you are praying for, that you are hoping for, that you are preparing for, right? Another really helpful thing to do is to create and embrace fertility in other areas of your life. What do I mean? Fertility and birth is a concept. We're talking about it in particular with fertility and birth of a baby, but to be fertile as a person is a state of being. It is someone who is able to always bear and produce things. So bear and produce and birth other things in your life. Bring other ideas into fruition. You do bring your dreams into fruition, your actions. Maybe you have a project, a DIY project. Create things. Bring life into your environment. Plants are a great example of that. I love flowers in particular because you can see the flowers blossoming, and it's a sign of fertility. Fruit, actually eating and having a lot of fruit, just bring life in and around you. Create and embrace fertility in other areas of your life. I love the springtime for this because everything is blossoming, everything is coming into life. We just came out of winter where everything is cold and dark, and fall when everything was withering, and then everything seemed desolate. Think of that even as a testing, proving time, right? Everything, and it's seasons. We have seasons, we have ebbs and flows. This is why it's important to make sure you pass the test of the dark, cold seasons. It's a time for developing yourself. See it as that. Go inward, get into that thing, and then know that your spring is coming. You can create the spring, put positive smells around you, put baby sounds around you, bring other ideas to life and deliver it into reality. Okay, birth things in other areas of your life, create something. Go outside and do something, plant a tree, DIY projects. If you have a business idea, do it, create it, write your book. When you are fertile in other areas of your life, when you are producing in other areas of your life, it brings that energy of fertility and production into every other area of your life. And it will enter into your womb. It will enter into your womb and also show up there. As I said, embrace the testing and see it as a divine rite of passage. See it as a divine proving. See it as a divine development of you. That testing period, that rite of passage, that dark period, the things that you're not seeing it happen right now. Don't be lost in that. Know that it's coming and understand and start digging deep as to, what's going on in this dark period right now? Okay, this is a sign. Everything is spiritual. Dr. Abigail told me everything is spiritual. Okay, so what is it a sign of? What do I need to do? What's going on in my mind? What's going on in my soul? What have I done in other areas? What have other people done? What kind of covenants do I need to break that I have done? We'll talk more about the lineage thing in the next episode, the next video. Get in tune with your baby's spirit and soul. I kind of touched upon this, but get in tune. Talk to your baby. You and your partner talk to your baby. Hey, we want you. We're waiting for you. We love you. We see you already. Come on, we're ready for you. And do the things that show that you're ready, that you're preparing. Okay? Get in tune with your baby's spirit. Pay attention to your dreams. There's a lot. The spirituality of fertility shows up, I said, in symbolisms, in signs, in synchronicities, right? So pay attention to those things and and understand that spiritual growth is a process. Spiritual growth is a process. Pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to prophecies, pay attention to your intuition, pray for discernment, and know how to understand when you're seeing something, what actually is behind it. Because when you're seeing something physical, there's something behind it in the spiritual realm. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? What do you need to do if it's something bad to come out of agreement with it, to eliminate it from your life, right? Another really helpful um, way to another helpful thing to do that can help you stay more fertile is to get happy, just to live in joy. This is why Omolayo, that name is so powerful. Child of joy, joyous child. Get happy. Just be happy at everything, no matter what's going on, even the darkness, even in your wanting and your waiting. Stay happy. That sends a message in the spirit realm, like, oh, okay, she's good. None of this is this doesn't phase her. Oh, he's good. This isn't phasing him. All right. She sees it. He sees it. He knows it's coming. And you're just joyous, stay abundant, stay bountiful. Levity in your energy. Lighten up your energy. Yes, lighten up your energy. Darkness and depression and those negative emotions, they're heavy. They bring you down. When you do things, whatever it is that makes you happy, music, being around the people that speak life into you, okay? Those are certain things that are very helpful. Also, and I think this will be my last point for today, understand the importance of divine timing. Okay? Divine timing matters. Um, my father always used to say, you're doing the right thing at the wrong time. You might be doing the right thing, but if you're doing the right thing at the wrong time, how's that going to help you? You want to do the right thing at the right time. There is a divine alignment and a divine time for everything. And sometimes when we think that things are being delayed, it is actually a delay for your destiny, for a divine purpose. Imagine, I'll use myself as an example, even this platform. I've had the idea for, I haven't told y'all about coochie business, but again, that'll come later. Yeah, I said it, coochie business. That's for everyone. Omolayo is for you who's trying to have a baby. I know you got a coochie too, and you're going to tune into coochie business, but I want to focus on this divine mission and what it means to understand the sanctity of the womb, what it means to help people understand all of the things. Because when we're birthing children into the world, that's a sacred position to have. to be able to bring another life through your body into the world. That's something we don't play with, right? So before I start playing around and joking around and teaching about all of the other things, I need the people who are working actively on bringing new souls into this realm to understand some certain things. But don't worry, Coochie Business coming. You're gonna see it on this channel too. What was I saying? Divine timing. And I was using myself as an example. I had the vision for these platforms a long time ago. Okay, a long time ago. If you did tune into the podcast, the Coochie Business podcast, I've talked about it a little bit there. But if I had done those things then, it would not be as powerful as what's happening now because I hadn't been developed. I thought I had all the answers. I thought all of my degrees and education was all I needed to be equipped to talk about certain things. And yes, that does equip me on some level. But for the spiritual purpose of my mission, the spiritual backing of my mission, there was some spiritual development of me that needed to happen. Even as simple as this video. I never said to y'all that I was going to be recording on any time schedule because I know myself. I'm not making those kind of commitments. And what happened with the preparation for this, I had to go through some spiritual development before I talked about the spirituality of fertility, right? And I understood that that is a divine timing. I could have been like, oh my gosh, when am I going to record the next video? I know better. I've had so many experiences in my life to let me know, oh, I missed that flight. Wasn't supposed to be on that plane. Wasn't supposed to get there at that time, right? Oh, this is happening sooner than I thought. Okay, I guess it's time. I got to go run with it because it's right here. And that requires discernment. These are things that you want to pray about and really reflect on. I hope that you take this information that we're talking about today and really reflect. I asked you to put your skepticism aside at the beginning. Now bring it back in. Go and poke and prod at some of these things that I'm talking about here. There's a lot more to come, but I don't want to take up too much time. Oh gosh, it's already been an hour, y'all. What? What? My goodness, let me go ahead and get on up out of here. I thank you all for joining me today. That's it for now. Thank you for tuning in, for joining me here on Omolayo. Remember that the joyous child within awaits your nurturing touch. I want you to stay blessed. I want you to stay fertile. I want you to stay in tune with these spiritual principles that I've been talking about on this channel today. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, maybe you have a story or an experience to share, please post it in the chat below. I will respond. You'll be giving me ideas for other episodes that are coming here. If you're finding that what you're learning and what we're talking about here is helpful, please subscribe to the channel. You'll get the notification. Well, you got to hit some notification things or whatever, subscribe, pay attention, hit the notification so that you can know when I'm posting and what's there and when I've uploaded another video or another topic. And of course, I would love if you share this video with people that you think that would find value in the content and it would help. Okay, so that's it for now. Stay blessed, stay fertile, and I'll see you on the next video.